Right now, a shadow war for influence is absolutely raging across Africa's Sahel region. And look, this is a critical zone, not just for global mineral resources, but it's also a major corridor for migration and extremism. We're seeing old colonial powers get pushed out, and new players, led by Russia, are stepping in and just rewriting the rules of the game. So let's break down this massive power shift.
Welcome to the Global War Watch Network, where we get into the most critical geopolitical conflicts that are shaping our world. And hey, to stay ahead of all these global shifts, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It really helps us bring you more analysis like this.
Okay, forget everything you thought you knew about French influence in Africa. Just listen to this. Paris is pivoting from that very obvious boots-on-the-ground military intervention to a sophisticated web of private security firms and intelligence-led diplomacy. This isn't just about trying to keep a little influence. We're talking about a whole new shadow doctrine. It's designed to counter Russia, all while securing critical mineral supply chains, and it's completely re-engineering the entire post-colonial power balance.
But to really get a handle on this new kind of covert battle, we first have to understand the old system that spectacularly collapsed. For decades, France's relationship with its former colonies was all defined by this one really powerful concept.
And that concept is Françafrique. It basically describes this intricate, often really shadowy network of connections that allowed Paris to keep a dominant role in Africa long after the colonial flags came down. It wasn't a formal empire on paper, but for a lot of people on the ground, it sure felt like one. The whole system was built on three really powerful pillars. First up, economic control. This was done through the CFA Franc, which literally tied African economies directly to the French treasury. Second, political interference. They had this shadow network of advisors who worked behind the scenes to prop up regimes that were friendly to Paris. And third, and maybe most importantly, was direct military force. France basically acted as the gendarme of Africa, intervening over 130 times to protect its interests.
But, as you can imagine, this system created a lot of deep resentment. France's huge military operations, like Operation Barkhane, they didn't just fail to stop the rising tide of extremism, but a lot of locals started to see them as an occupying force. This just poured fuel on the fire of anti-French sentiment, leading directly to military coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And what did they do? They kicked French troops out. By 2025, the French military footprint in the region had pretty much vanished.
Exactly, Alex. And as France was being pushed out, this massive security vacuum opened up. And one power in particular was just ready and waiting to jump right in: Russia. Moscow did not hesitate, and they came with a very, very clear playbook.
Russia's approach, it's brutally effective. It's got multiple parts. Moscow offers military hardware and training with absolutely no strings attached about things like democracy or human rights. It's building high-tech partnerships in space and communications. It's waging a really sophisticated information war online, tapping into genuine local anger. And in return for providing security, it gets privileged access to vital resources like gold and uranium.
Now, at first, all of this was done through the infamous Wagner Group, right? A private military company that gave the Kremlin deniability. But in 2025, a really crucial shift happened. Wagner's operations were rebranded and brought under direct state control as the Africa Corps. And let me tell you, this was not just a name change. This was a clear signal from the Kremlin that its presence in the Sahel is official, it's strategic, and it is permanent.
So the new military governments of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger didn't just turn to Russia. They also turned to each other. They formed the Alliance of Sahel States, the AES, which is a mutual defense pact. They created their own security architecture, completely independent of the West. It was just a powerful assertion of their own sovereignty and a total rejection of that old Françafrique system.
So with its troops gone and this new Russian-backed alliance in place, it would be really easy to think that France is just out of the game. But like we hinted at in the beginning, that is not the full story. France hasn't given up, it simply changed its tactics.
So the big question is, what does France do now? Does it just walk away from a region where it has invested centuries of political, economic, and military capital? Well, the answer seems to be a definitive no.
Alex has engineered a fundamental pivot. The old strategy was visible. It was direct: soldiers, military bases, open support for political allies. The new strategy, it's subtle, it's indirect. It's become a war for hearts and minds, and it's being fought through civil society, media narratives, and economic influence. And this new toolkit is, it's fascinating.
Instead of funding armies, France is now funding local NGOs through programs like PISCA, which directly supports innovative projects from civil society. It's providing financial and legal help to key opinion leaders. We're talking journalists, activists, intellectuals, people who can shape public debate. And it has set up dedicated media units to fight Russian disinformation, all while publicly talking about shifting its focus to soft power.
And this is exactly where the picture gets even bigger. This whole France-Russia rivalry isn't happening in a vacuum. The Sahel has turned into a global frontier, a prime example of the world's rapid shift to a multipolar reality.
Right, so while Russia is the main security partner, the Sahelian nations are diversifying their options. China is stepping up its own security game to protect its massive Belt and Road investments. India is coming in offering affordable defense tech and digital infrastructure without any of that colonial baggage. And then you have countries like Turkey and the Gulf states becoming major economic and security players in their own right.
So the crucial takeaway here is that the old colonial backyards, they're gone. Sahelian nations, and really African nations more broadly, they now have options. They can pick and choose partners based on their own sovereign interests. The era of one foreign power holding an exclusive sphere of influence is definitively over.
Which leaves us with a final, and I think really critical question. As this new great game heats up, a game of soft power, proxy forces, information warfare, and all these competing partnerships, it's no longer just about who wins. It's about who gets to write the rules for the 21st century.
And that's all the time we have for this one. Thank you so much for joining us to break down this incredibly important geopolitical shift.
Hey, if you found this analysis valuable, please help us grow by hitting that like button, sharing it with your network, and of course, subscribing to Global War Watch Network.
And we really want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this new rivalry? Join the conversation down in the comments below and follow us on our social media. The links are right there in the description. We'll see you next time.